Good morning and thank you for coming. My name is Steve Bacco. I'm the Risk Intelligence LandRisk Manager. And I'm very pleased to give you a demonstration of LandRisk, the latest product of the Risk Intelligence system, together with Niels, the LandRisk Project Manager. Under Niels' direction, the entire team have been working very hard to develop LandRisk for some time now. But today, Niels will only be managing the mouse for me. This presentation will take around 30 minutes and we'll have a question and answer session directly afterwards. We've been developing LandRisk for over a year now. As some of you may know, we've engaged with around 40 companies who have acted as beta testers during the development process. We have worked with our current clients to ensure that LandRisk is fully integrated with our existing products, MarRisk and PortRisk. We've also worked with manufacturers and logistics companies to ensure that LandRisk will function equally well as a standalone product for those companies focused on a land-based supply chain. We are now ready to launch LandRisk to the market. So what is LandRisk? LandRisk is the third module of the Risk Intelligence system. It provides up-to-date security risk intelligence for the land-based supply chain. This includes road, rail, and inland waterway transportation networks. LandRisk enables users to better understand and mitigate threats to their supply chain and operations. The aim is to make life easier for our users so they can focus on their core business. The system is web-based and it will work equally well on laptops, PCs, tablets and mobile phones. The system is also tried and tested, and it has supported our MarRisk and PortRisk products for many years now. It is continually improved based on client feedback, and it also has a dedicated IT support team. We have always focused on trying to make the system as user-friendly as possible. When you log on to the system, your first view is a map of the world. Instead of just clicking around the screen to show you how LandRisk works, we'd like to begin the presentation by setting the scene with a real-world case study, a road transport of high-value cargo. By doing so, we can walk you through the main content and features of LandRisk and also show you LandRisk in an operational context. Our case is to move a delivery of pharmaceutical products by truck from Hanover to London. Our route takes us south from Hanover towards Dortmund, through Antwerp, onto Calais. Then we take the Eurotunnel to Folkestone and back on the road for the final leg to London. As many of us know, this can be a difficult transport at times. There are plenty of criminals out there who will use a variety of methods to try and steal our cargo en route. Also, we have the long-standing challenges of stowaways at Folkestone and Calais. So, in our case, both the shipper and the logistics provider can use LandRisk to gain valuable information. The first thing I can do when I'm trying to understand the threats to my transport is to get a general overview of the country I'll be travelling through. So when I zoom in on the map, I see a bunch of coloured areas, numbers and other information. I will explain the icons and the shaded areas in more detail as we work through the case study. Before we dive into the system, I want to briefly mention how we generate the information. We have a large team working behind the scenes to keep the system updated with the latest threat information. Our head of analysis, our senior management team and our product managers set the risk intelligence analysis strategy. We then task our analysis staff in each region of the world. We have a large number of in-house and associate analysts whose sole job is to collect, verify and analyse information. This analysis is presented onto the system in the form of country, area and hotspot threat assessments. So back to the case study. I want to get an overview of the threat situation on my route, so I start at the country level, in this case, Germany. Simply click on to the country on the map to view the country threat assessment. The country threat assessment window gives you some key information right up front. Starting at the top, you have the country, threat level and colour code. Our threat levels range from low to moderate to elevated and onto high and severe. You can see right away how serious the threat is in a given country. You will see the two headings for LandRisk and MarRisk PortRisk. The threats to maritime trade will often be different to those on land, so we separate our country threat assessments for each perspective. This prevents our threat assessments becoming too generic, trying to cover both perspectives in a single report. It also keeps each threat assessment concise and relevant to the respective reader. As a result, we can provide you with actionable intelligence in an easily digestible format. You also get the date of the last assessment, and we update our threat assessments as often as required whenever there's a significant change in security. The blue box you see here is the country headline. This gives you a snapshot of what is going on in the country and the overall country threat situation. Below the map, we have a number of headings where you can access key threat information for the country. You can see areas, hotspots, and incidents listed, and we'll cover each one in turn. Then we have the country threat assessment itself. Here you find our country-level threat analysis for Germany. The summary, the large text here, sets out the most important part of the assessment. Primarily, what are the main threats and how serious they are. Underneath the summary, we have each risk intelligence threat category. You can see we cover off on a variety of threats, including cargo theft, hijacking and robbery, smuggling, stowaways and human traffic, etc. For each threat category, you'll see we allocate an individual threat level and also a trend. Is the threat going up, down, or is it staying the same? You can see straight away what are the most serious threats and if they are changing. As you can see, there are no surprises that cargo threat, we assess the cargo threats in Germany as high. Each threat category provides a detailed assessment based on all available information. We can also see that there's an elevated threat for stowaways and human trafficking. We focus on the capability, intent, available resources, the opportunity and the MO of adversaries and groups within each threat category. The country threat assessment is a good example of how the whole system works. We give you the key information up front, and if you need more detail, you just drill down until you have the level of information that you need. As we know, some threats are localized in a specific area. Also, some areas are of specific interest to our users, such as manufacturing or transportation hubs. We cover these in our area threat assessments. These are areas that experience a persistent threat in one or more of our threat categories. We have identified 7 areas of interest in Germany. Now, our case has us travelling through the Rhine-Ruhr area, so we can click on this area to see the local threat assessment. As you can see, the area threat assessment window is set up in exactly the same way, so you can quickly find the information that you need. You can see the threat level, the date of assessment and headline. You can also see that we've listed 4 incidents within this area. When I zoom in on the map, I can see the area in detail and the icons showing each type of incident, and we'll look at the incidents in a moment. When I open the area threat assessment itself, I can read the summary and I can view each threat category. I can see at a glance that cargo theft and activism are the highest threats. I can drill a little deeper to understand the threat. Again, we highlight the threat, the MO being used, when and where it is happening in a concise assessment. You're able to quickly identify the main threat without having to trawl through reams of data, so you can implement the appropriate security measures. There is also an elevated threat of activism. Now, it can be hard to predict the next protest, but in some cases, activist groups publicise their planned protests in advance. We warn clients when this happens. When unannounced protests occur, we send notifications to warn our clients as soon as possible so they can avoid the area. This saves our users having to trawl through multiple sources and news feeds to see what's going on. In the very near future, we will also have a system app so clients can send incident reports directly to us anonymously, so we can share that information for the benefit of all users. We also use hotspot threat assessments. You can see a number of hotspots along our route shown in red as they are deemed as high threat areas. Hotspot threat assessments are a dynamic way of showing changes to the normal pattern of life or a spike in incidents in a certain area. Examples could be the yellow vest protests in Paris, or it could be a spike in cargo theft incidents along the A67 in Venlo. Hotspots are constantly monitored by our analysts and our 24/7 Duty Watch team. We use a network of sources, including clients, open and closed sources, intelligence services, law enforcement agencies, and partners to provide data for our analysts. Our hotspot threat assessments are normally time-bound. When the threat has passed, they are downgraded to inactive, but you can still view them on the system for analysis purposes. So we must pass through Venlo, so we can take a look at the hotspot threat assessment for that area. When you click on the hotspot, you see the same familiar window, so you can quickly find what you're looking for. Hotspots also include a start date and an end date, and if the threat is ongoing, the end date is classed as active on the system. We collate information from various incidents into a concise assessment. In this instance, most thefts involve curtain slashing, with some thefts of entire tractors and trailers. The problem areas are those in the city trade ports and at unsecured truck stops on the A67. As another example of how we use hotspots, we recently received information that a splinter group of Extinction Rebellion were planning to fly drones at Heathrow Airport on the 13th of September. We assessed that this had potential to disrupt supply chain operations, and you will recall the huge disruption caused at Gatwick Airport back in December last year due to drone flights. Activists did indeed attempt to fly drones as threatened, but the local police made preemptive arrests the night before, and the airport took countermeasures to ensure that flights were not disrupted. And we covered off on this in our hotspot threat assessment. As with all hotspots, when we discover a serious change in the security landscape, we notify our clients as soon as possible through our mail agent. We use this activism hotspot to warn our clients well in advance. We kept them informed near real time as the incident unfolded by using the incident report you see here. We then downgraded the hotspot when the threat had passed. You can see on the map that the hotspot now has a broken red outline to show that it is now inactive, as you can see here. So all the hotspots shown with a hatched line are inactive. If we return to the Venlo hotspot, you can see we also provide operational advice to counter the threat that we have identified. This generally includes hardening measures to secure the cargo, the tractor and the trailer, technical measures such as GPS tracking and alarms, also procedural measures such as driver briefings and SOPs for the driver whilst en route. We try and avoid providing a long list of mitigation measures. We realise that some measures are not feasible operationally or financially for many companies. Instead, we try to focus on cost-effective, real-world security measures which are tailored to the specific threat. Our aim is to classify the type of threat for our users and provide workable solutions so that they can continue to operate in a hotspot area should they decide to do so. Finally, we have our incidents. We use different icons to represent each type of incident, such as a cargo theft incident, a terrorist attack, a hijacking or robbery. When you click on an incident, you will see a familiar window open. All the key information is presented up front. You can see from the incident report that this includes what happened in a concise report, when and where, a map, and an image of the incident scene or of the local area. The report includes details of the ammo used by the adversaries and the goods targeted when known. As we all know, the volume of cargo thefts is huge. So we have thousands of incidents on the back end of our system, and this helps us with our analysis. However, we have chosen to set a minimum threshold for the incidents that we will show individually on the system. We don't want to overwhelm our users with information that they then have to analyse themselves. We crunch the data, we determine what is important, and display only significant incidents on the system. These include major or spectacular thefts, and incidents that include the threat or use of violence, in particular those incidents that include a confrontation between criminals and a driver. We also show terrorism and activism incidents and other security threats to the supply chain. This activism incident report is an example of a protest that disrupted operations for a major car manufacturer. Minor theft incidents, of which there are many, are covered in our analysts cover in our country, area and hotspot threat assessments, and they are reflected in the threat levels that we set. This way we maintain a less cluttered view on the map for the user. We want to avoid having thousands of incidents on the screen and the potential for paralysis by analysis as we try and make sense of what is going on. We will talk about system filters later, where you can customize what you see on the screen. For example, users can set date ranges and incident types, so only the most pertinent or recent information is shown on the map. So, we've covered some of the key features and content of LandRisk, so let's go back to our case. I want to know the threats on my route from Hanover to London, so I can use the route planning tool to do the legwork for me. I simply type in my journey start and finish points. I can very simply add additional waypoints along the way. I can change their order and I can delete them as required. The route is then highlighted in a blue line on the map. Now I'm moving a high value cargo, so I want to spread my net wide with regard to understanding the potential threats en route. Therefore, I can adjust the route radius, say to around 75 kilometers, to grab more information along the route. There you can see the white line indicates the corridor that we've set up, where we capture all the threat information in that area. You can save up to 100 routes on the system, and you can see them listed at the bottom of the window. When I'm happy with a route, I can click on Route Details. This gives you a list of headings that cover the threat information along the selected route. All this information is automatically updated. If you open a route you saved weeks ago, when you open the route again, it will be updated with the latest threat picture. If you click on a heading, you can open a list where you can see the individual threat assessments and incidents listed. If you want to click on a field, then you can open the respective incident report or the actual analysis. So let's assume that we must make an overnight stop in the area of Eindhoven. We can see that the area is a cargo theft hotspot from the map. We're also carrying a high value cargo. We want to protect our cargo, the truck, and of course the driver. So we make the sensible decision to stay overnight at a secure parking facility. As you can see from the route planner, we have 3 assessed parking areas that have been assessed by Risk Intelligence along our route. We expect to have around 50 secure parking areas listed on the system before New Year. We have a long tradition of conducting site security surveys through our port risk module. We like to get boots on the ground whenever possible and go and survey secure parking areas. 2 of the sites we see are a little distant to our route, but one at Aston on the A67 fits the bill. So if you click on the parking area icon, you can open the report and you will see a familiar type of window open. A lot of the information is up front, including the address and who completed the assessment. Then you can click on one of the 4 icons to access site contact details, the operator website, and your local emergency services number. If you click on the photos, you get a good idea of the security measures at site that we viewed during our survey. We look at the cameras, the lighting, the fencing, gates, access control. If you open a vulnerability assessment to read the findings of our survey, we provide a summary of the facilities and services and security measures at site. We include recommendations for drivers before arrival, when at site, and on departure. Our survey focuses on 6 key areas shown by each heading you see here. We look at the site perimeter, access control, fences and gates, CCTV, etc. Again, if you require more information, just drill down Click on the heading and you can read our assessment of that aspect of security at site. We also list official truck parking stops along the route. As you can see, there are a large number, in this case 524, along our route. However, these have not been assessed by Risk Intelligence, and they are mainly unsecure parking areas on the highway. However, we do realise that these stops are often essential for drivers to take their rest periods. By providing details on secure parking facilities, we provide users with a number of options to help them protect their cargo, assets, and most importantly, the driver. Okay, after a restful and secure night's sleep, we're back on the road heading to Calais. Now, we know there is an ongoing problem with stowaways in the Calais port area. As this is a persistent threat, we have captured this in an area threat assessment. We provide a detailed assessment of the problem of stowaways in the area, including where it is happening, the typical MO used, and the potential for violence against the driver. You can also see that we have 2 incidents in the area that took place within the last 6 months. In the first, migrants stormed the ferry terminal at Calais. In the second, migrants assaulted a truck driver who was attempting to force a barricade that the migrants had set up to try and slow down trucks so they could try and board them. As these incidents included violence, we have shown them individually on the system. Other less serious incidents in the Calais area involving stowaways are covered in the respective threat assessment. We then continue on our journey on a Eurotunnel to Folkestone. You will see we have another hotspot around Dover and Folkestone. Now, our friends Extinction Rebellion have been very active recently, and they also threatened to blockade Dover Port on the 21st of September. Therefore, we put up a hotspot to warn our clients of this fact. The activists made good on their threat and carried out their protest on the 21st. Therefore, we posted an instant report near real time to keep our users informed, as you can see here. Okay, we're now on our final leg of the transport, and we can see that our destination London has been covered by an area threat assessment. Looking at our threat categories, we can immediately see that cargo theft is a high threat, assessed as high in London. When we open the threat itself, we can see that last mile delivery robberies and thefts are a big problem, as are cargo theft incidents involving soft-sided trailers, unsecure parking areas. Armed with this information, we should try and avoid parking in unsecure areas around London where possible. If we're responsible for the last mile delivery, we should consider additional security measures to secure the final drop-off. We can also see that there is an elevated threat of terrorism in London. London has been a target of a number of terrorist attacks, as you're probably aware, including lone wolf incidents. Trucks have been used as lethal weapons, and it's very hard to predict the next attack. However, armed with this information, you can provide security briefings for your drivers and take sensible precautions. You can put a notification system in place in the event of an incident whilst your truck is in the area, and this can be tied in with our incident reports. You can see that we provide a detailed threat assessment regarding a threat posed by terrorism in the area of London. I hope this case study has helped demonstrate how you can use the various LandRisk features and content to better understand the threats to your logistics operations. You also have the option of mapping our threat information onto your existing fleet management system. You monitor your assets near real time as normal, but with our threat analysis, our hotspots, and our incident reports shown on your screen as well. This is possible with all our products, as the system is compatible with other platforms via an API. We have done this for existing clients, including the United States Navy. You take our data and you present it the way you want it on the platform of your choice. In addition to secure parking areas, we also conduct site surveys on inland ports. We lean on our experience gained in port risk, where we've been surveying ports around the world since 2015. Again, we like to get boots on the ground whenever possible. A picture paints 1,000 words, so we strive to give our users an insight into our experience surveying a port. When you open the port assessment, you get the same familiar window. You see familiar icons to access pertinent site information. Our port assessments include, amongst other things, a security risk assessment, a vulnerability assessment, and a threat assessment. If we look at the port vulnerability assessment, you'll see the same familiar format. There are similar headings to our secure parking survey reports, but they're tailored to the maritime environment. We also conduct a threat assessment for the port. You will notice we use the same threat assessment format so you can quickly find the information that you're looking for. We give you the summary and key findings up front, and if you need more information, you just drill down into each threat category. I've now covered the main LandRisk content and features. We have a wealth of information on the system, and we're constantly looking for ways to find more. We are continuing to expand our coverage. As you can see from the map, we currently cover Europe and much of the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. The countries that are hatched with the lines are not currently covered. However, we have plans in place to cover these as soon as possible. We work hard to present our information in a clear and concise manner, but we also make it easier to dig deeper into our analysis when you need to. When we realise our users have different requirements, so you can customise the system information to suit your operations. We have a number of filters, settings, menus, and search functions, so you can quickly find the information that is most important to you. You can access these through our menus located on the left and the right-hand side of the screens. To wrap up, the LandRisk module is now ready to support your logistics operations. We can provide a complete supply chain security risk intelligence system by combining our three products: MarRisk, PortRisk, and LandRisk. We believe our analysis is what sets us apart. There's a lot of noise out there, so we do the legwork, we crunch the data, and work out what is important so you don't have to. The net result is that we save you time so that you can focus on your core business. We provide one system with a single point of access. We can take the load of company security officers and also assist operations staff whose primary function is logistics and not security. We identify the threats, we verify the sources, analyze and evaluate the data so you can understand the most significant threats and that require your attention. And finally, you get the right information presented clearly and concisely on a tried and tested, user-friendly system. If you'd like a free trial of LandRisk or the whole system to include MarRisk and PortRisk, please let us know and we'll get you set up straight away. Thank you for tuning in today. If you'd like more information, please visit our website.